Welcome to Learn, Make, and Create. I'm Nancy McNally. Today we're going to make Beachfront Paradise Quilt, designed and created by mother-daughter team Terry Ann and Cassie Harms, two very good friends of mine. For today's project, Beachfront Paradise, we're going to begin by making 4 patches, and then we're going to move on to half square triangles. But the unique thing about Beachfront Paradise is I'm going to teach you 2 techniques that are time savers and they save thread. We're going to learn how to make our 4 patches using strip piecing, and half square triangles. Instead of making 2 half square triangles at a time, we're going to make 8 half square triangles at a time. All right, so let's grab our supplies. So what you'll need is 1 7/8 yard of a white tonal fabric, 2 1/4 yards of light blue fabric, a 1/2 yard of a medium blue, like say this one right here, also tonal, but let me show you what I chose. I chose a print. Isn't that pretty? And next, for your dark blue fabrics, you're going to need 2 1/4. Now, I chose 2 different darks to put in my Beachfront Paradise quilt. I love blue. It's my favorite color, and it was hard for me to choose this blue or this dark blue. So I went, oh, I'll just use both of them. Why not? All right. So now, please do not forget to download your quilt pattern. It comes as a PDF download, so just click the button, save it to your computer, and then you can retrieve it anytime you want. All right, some more supplies that you're going to need. We're going to use a fabric marking pen. I'm sorry to say it, just in case. Have a seam ripper available, just in case. Now let's see if I can slide that back in there. And of course, you're going to need some thread scissors. Now, don't forget your basic sewing supplies, such as your rotary cutter and your cutting mat. Also, one additional supply will be a ruler. Now we need a ruler because we're going to be drawing a line on our fabric. So make sure the marker or the pen that you use is not a permanent fabric marking pen. We want it to be able to go away, to disappear. All right, so let's get our supplies together and let's start. We're going to begin with our 4 patches. Let's begin on page 2 of our pattern. We're going to start with our 4 patches. So I'm going to move the pattern off to the side, and here is the block that we are going to be creating, and here are our 4 patches. So we have these, 1 in each corner of the diagonal corners, not over here. Don't look over here. Don't look over here yet. We're just going to work on these right here. So I have a couple of 4 patches already made. So let me show you how we make those. So we're going to start with 2 strips, our cream or white tone on tone. We have our strip here, and then we have our light blue strip. You're going to take these and go right sides together. Place pins if you need to for aligning. So you're going to line your raw edges right here, and then you're going to sew your 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now I already have one prepared. Now my strips are half the length just to save some space here for me to do the video tutorial. Let me flip it around this way. Okay, so before you begin cutting for your 4 patch from the strip set, look here at our uneven edge. Let's make sure we clean that up first. We're going to take your ruler, align it up, and what I like to do is take the strip set and take the raw edge of the strip that's closest to me and align it with a registration line on my mat. And then I will take this and I will align it up also. and make sure the fabric lays flat because I had moved it. See, it's got this little wave right here. So let's make sure it lays a little flatter. And I'm just going to trim off right here. So I'm going to open up my rotary cutter. And now I'm going to trim. There we go. We're going to discard that. Now I have a nice clean edge, and now I can cut my 4-patch segments. And we need to cut them at 3.5 inches. So we're going to take our ruler, and we're going to put the 3.5 inch line from our ruler on the edge of our fabric, and also have your registration line on the ruler. Just find one. So you're going to right here, you're going to be lined up on the edge, along with on the bottom here, and right here. And let me move it just a little bit. There we go. There, that's a little bit better. And then place your hand on your ruler, open your rotary cutter, and you're going to cut. Now, I'm just going to move this over so that I can see a little bit better. And if you have to cut an angle like I'm doing it, just use the lines on your ruler to make sure, oops, and see, don't do that. Don't bump it out of the way. There we go. One more time, right? Okay. All right, so you're going to continue cutting down your strip set so that we can create our 4 patches. So how do we make our 4 patches? Easy peasy. So we have our rectangles, our 3.5 by 6.5 inch rectangles together, or cut, and now we're going to join them. So we're going to have opposites. We're going to make sure that no 2 colors, don't put your blues, don't do this. Okay, make sure your blues are opposite from each other, and same with the creams. You're going to go right sides together. Nest these seams. So your seam allowances should bump up against each other. The seam allowance from your top one and your bottom one, when you go right sides together, one seam will go to the left and the other seam will go to the right. Because after you sew your strip set, you're going to press the seam allowance to the darker fabric, which will be the blue fabric. Place a pin if you need to hold your seam allowance in place. Make sure it's all lined up, and then you're going to sew your 1/4 inch seam allowance to create your 4 patches. So you're going to make, let me see, I don't remember how many we need to make. You're going to cut 80, so you're going to make 40 of the 4 patches. These go by so fast. So go ahead and get those started. And when you go to press, you're going to press them towards, let's say they look like this. You're going to press them this way or this way. You're going to press them to one side, and this way we can create the chain in the block. So go make 40. I don't want you to make 80. I want you to make 40 4 patches for our blocks. Okay, let's get started on the next part of our block. So let's begin by making our 8 at a time half square triangles. Now if you look on your pattern page, we are beginning with, on page 3, completing 8 at a time half square triangle units. This is such a time saver method, and it is one of my favorites. So we're going to have our fabric C, which is our light, and our D, which is our dark blue. I just want to touch it because it's so pretty. You're going to need your fabric marking pen and a ruler that will extend on the diagonal of the fabric. It's got to be longer than the fabric so you can make sure that you're measuring correctly. So what I do to make sure that I have cut my squares square, because sometimes the ruler slips, I take I'm going to move this, the 45-degree diagonal line. I put it on the bottom of the square to start. Make sure I'm lined up in the corner, and let's adjust it just a little bit up here, and there we go. And then I draw the line. Next, you can move your square. You can just rotate it, because now we're going to draw the other diagonal line, and I'm going to do it the same way. Line up, and a line. Let's move it up a little bit further here so I have a little bit more room. There we go. Make sure I'm in it. All right. So I've got my ruler lined up here, and I've got my ruler lined up at that tip. Just hold the ruler in place and draw the line. Now, we're going to sew a 1/4 inch on either side of this line, both lines. So you're going to sew a 1/4 inch on this side, 1/4 inch on this side, here and here. And then we're going to cut it apart. So let me get these sewn and I will show you how we're going to cut it apart. Let me show you this. If you're using a 1/4 inch foot with a flange, we're going to take this and we're going to align that flange right along that drawn line. And so your needle's going to drop down at a 1/4 inch away. So a new quilter, this is like, how do you do that? That's how you do it. Some people have been known to also draw the line that they need to sew on. And if you need to do that, it's easy to do. I'll show you quickly how to do that. And I would draw dashes instead of a straight line to represent the stitch line. So I would take my 1/4 inch, there we go, my 1/4 inch marking on my ruler, and actually I'm going to put it just slightly past that line to allow for the tip of my marker, and I'm just going to draw dashed lines like this. And those are easy enough to follow. Then I'll rotate this around and I'll repeat the process. And I put the 1/4 inch slightly to the left, so it's like on the edge of this marking, the line that I already marked. And then, so see, there you go. And we would do it on this side also. Now, if that helps you to sew a better 1/4 inch seam, go for it. All right, let me get mine marked. Might as well finish it up, right? I started it, let's finish it up. Rotate it around. And if you need to place a pin in this, in your two fabrics that are together, right sides together, go ahead. Now, if you're wondering how the lines are going to disappear with this type of marker, the heat of the iron disappears, makes the ink disappear. All right, let's sew these. So I rotated it around because I stitched the first line. Going to line that flange that's on my 1/4 inch foot along with this solid line, and I'm going to stitch on the dash lines. And there we go. Now it's time to trim. So I'm going to take my ruler. You have your choice on how to cut this. It's really, as long as you make sure you cut directly on that drawn line, so you have a 1/4 inch seam allowance. That's good. Now let's do this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my mat so that I don't have to move my square. There we go. See? Makes life easier. Place my ruler here. Now we're not done. I still have to cut it in half on the horizontal and the vertical. I'll make sure nothing's slid apart. Oh, now see, I moved that one. Let's pull this back. Keep it all nice and neat. Okay, I'm going to rotate it this way so that I can see it easily. There we go. We're going to cut this in half. So now we're going to cut it at the 4 inch line. So I have the 4 inch out here on the outer portion of, I'm just making sure it all is together. There we go. I'm going to hold tight. Not too much pressure. It doesn't take a lot. So now I've got that. Now I need to cut this way. So we're going to rotate my mat one more time. Now, if you have one of those mats that's revolving or, is on a roundabout, those work great. I just happen to not have it in my sewing in here today with me. Okay, there we go. Now these are done, so I can pull those out. There we go. Ta-da! How cool is that? All right, so for the next step, we're going to press them. All right, so you see the orange lines. I'm going to bring this right back to you. I'm going to use the heat from the iron. I'm going to bring it back and show you. Ta-da! They're gone. It's that easy. So I'm using the heat of the iron to make the ink go away, and then we're going to press towards the dark. So I'm going to flip it over, set the seam, and press. I'm going to do that to all of these, and when we come back, I'm going to show you how to trim these all to the right size, okay? All right, see you in just a second. So I'm going to demonstrate how to trim your half square triangle down to size 3.5 inches, because we oversized them just slightly, just to give you a little bit of that edge, so to speak, give you a little bit of that room, that wiggle room, just in case. All right, so I have my half square triangle here, and my rotary cutter is open, and this is one of my favorite rulers, 6.5 inch. I use it all the time. So it has a diagonal line running from corner to corner. I'm going to place my half square triangle so the dark side is closest to me. You can do it the other way around if you want, but I always start this way. I'm going to place the diagonal line directly on the diagonal of the block. Now, the first thing I want to look for is how much am I going to trim off, and I need to make sure that, like right here, there's fabric that is not under the ruler, as in it's too far in. So my magical number that I'm going to trim to is 3.5 inches, which is right here. And I have a little bit of excess right here that's past the 3.5 inch line down in this corner. So I'm going to adjust my ruler to drop all the way down. Now, in a perfect world, it doesn't always happen. You'll have the 3.5 inch or whatever size you're trimming to. The diagonal line will be perfectly aligned with your seam allowance, or that divider line between the two fabrics, and the size you're needing to will run right along that edge and right along the bottom, and then you can just cut, and voila, it's done. But sometimes that doesn't happen. So what I suggest is that you just move the ruler slightly up so that you have enough to cut off here, and make sure that there's fabric running past that, whatever size you're needing, past that line, that mark, that registration number on your ruler on both sides, on the left side and the bottom. Now, mine just happened to be spot on actually, so I'm going to pull it back down, and I would cut, and it would be ready to go. But let's pretend it's not. So I would go like this, and now I'm going to cut, oops, and then I will cut across. Okay, so that's 2 cuts. Remove the ruler, take this corner and put it up here. So just rotate, just like that. And now put your marks, the size that you need, which this one is 3.5. My diagonal is running right along the center, just like it's supposed to. 3.5 here and 3.5 here. Let me fudge it up just a little bit. There we go. There we go. So now I'm going to trim this and this. Hold the ruler in place and trim. And there we go. Let's bring the block over here and let's look at the block. So we've already made our 4 patches. So we should have 40 of those. So we have those, and now we're going to work on these. So I already have them. I've already started sewing them here. So let me show you how I pull these together. Anytime I'm working with a unit that's like this, where the fabric has to land in a certain spot, because this is one of your blues, and this is one of your creams or light, and we have to have the half square triangles coming to the center. All right, so what I'm going to do is take this section and lay it out right here. Before I sew it, I lay it out to match that. All right, so I've got, well, sometimes it's hard to see tone on tones. So what I do is I take, if I've got like a dark blue shirt on or black or something like that, I'll rest this up against it so I can see this is the right side, or I'll use my blue jeans. Okay, so let's just move this out of the way. We're going to take this one. Now we have a half square triangle here and a half square triangle here. Now see, they're going to touch in the middle, and then your blue comes here. Just making sure I didn't have it flip the wrong way there. There we go. Now I chain piece all this. So what I do is this one goes on top and I sew. This one goes on top. For me, this is efficiency. So now I've chain pieced. We're going to cut the thread. I'm going to bring this little thing over back again because I'm going to move this and remove this. I'll show you how I separate my chain piecing. So I have my seam ripper. As you can see, it's sticking right, and this is holding it. So I have this little thread between. I'm just going to pop them out. Or not pop them out, I'm going to cut the thread just like this. Flip everything over to make sure it's all going in the right direction. And it should still be, ta-da, in order. Now our next step is very simple. You're going to press. I'm going to finger press for the moment so that you can see how these blocks go together. So there's this one. And then this one. So you're going to press towards the solid fabric, not the half square triangles. You're going to press away from the half square triangles. So these are going to nest just like this. So I've got one. And because they're in order, because I sewed them in order, they're going to work. So we're just going to finger press, and now we're ready to assemble these. And we go right sides together. I do need to press them with the iron, so I'm not going to sew them right now. I need to press them first, but I just wanted to show you how these are going to go together. So you're going to join these together just like this. And sometimes I will take and put a pin in this seam allowance because it's going towards the feed dogs of my, not the feed dogs, I'm sorry, it's going towards the foot. So if we go like this, this is going towards the foot, and sometimes the foot can, you know, flip it backwards. So I'll just do that. All right, let's get these sewn. Press first, and then we're going to sew them, and we're going to pull the whole block together. Now we have all of our units to build our block. So we have our 4 patches. They're going to go in top right corner and the bottom left corner. And then we have our half square triangle units. So make sure when you pull these together that you have the blues in the corners. Your half square triangles are touching right here. And then you have your solid, your cream, not your solid, your tone on tone, your light color in the middle, so that it looks like another 4 patch has been made. Isn't that cool how this chain develops? All right, so you're going to sew these together. You're going to go right sides together, right sides together. You're going to press the seam allowance, open it up, and then you'll do the final seam across the center to create our pretty block. How cool is that? Since I have 3 blocks together, you'll see how the sashing and the cornerstones go together. I'm going to pull this up like this. So I got 2 right here. We're going to put a sashing strip between. So pretty. Here's my cornerstone. Now, I kind of did that on purpose. I fussy cut so I could have this pretty flower in the middle. I'm going to push these up just ever so slightly. But let's do this. That would go here. And see now how your eye comes this way and it gets drawn right here. So if we have this one right here, look how pretty, pretty, pretty. So we're going to place the pattern here so you can see where I'm going. I'm just going to bring this star point right here. I'm hoping you can see all of this. There we go. Let me grab another piece of sashing. Isn't this gorgeous? It's so pretty. One more piece of sashing if I can get my fingers to work. There we go. And so this one would go here. And so obviously this would be the other block. And you see how this beautiful, oh wait, look at there. I didn't do it. Did you notice that? I was like, how did I have another piece of sashing strip over here? But I think you get the picture. Wouldn't you just love to be in my sewing room with me? Okay. Look how pretty that is. So, so pretty. Let's just move it up a little bit further so you can get more of what it's supposed to look like. Ta-da! I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Terry Ann and Cassie did such a great job. So there you go. Now, over here, let's rotate them so you can see what happens in the opposite. Stay right there. And then I'm going to put the blue, oops, I put the white there. Let's put the blue here. Now rotate this. Rotate this one. It's so fun playing with these. And now, ta-da, another block. So see, the chain just keeps your eye moving all the way through. And so these would be here. Okay, and this would be another block right here. All right, how fun is this? I love this block. Such a beautiful quilt. Thank you, Terry Ann and Cassie, for designing and creating Beachfront Paradise Quilt. It does remind me of summer at the beach. For me, it was the Atlantic coast. But for some people who live in Michigan, which that's where I'm located, we have the Great Lakes that are our beaches. So thank you for joining me today with Andy's Creative Studio, Learn, Make, and Create, Beachfront Paradise. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you on another Learn, Make, and Create episode. Have a great day, and happy quilting. I'm Nancy McNally.